Hi, my name is Liana Coyne, and it gives me great pleasure to share with you that this year's newest member to the Tiaco Hall of Fame is my father, the founder and CEO of Coyne Airways, Larry Coyne. Now, some of you may already know who Coyne Airways is, but for those of you who don't, we are a niche cargo operator moving all kinds of cargo, from heavy, oversized oil and gas equipment to relief goods to pharma and general cargo. We're also non-asset based, so you won't have seen our names on the back of any airplanes. But what we are able to do is to connect global gateways with some of the hardest to reach destinations in the world. And we do that all on a single IATA airway bill. We've been serving the Caspian Sea region since 1994. We also serve Iraq and Afghanistan. In 2012, we expanded to serve Africa. What you might not know is a little bit about the man behind Coyne Airways, and that is what I'd like to share with you now. My father grew up on a dairy farm in Ireland, one of 11 children. My father was the youngest boy and, according to some sources, was doted on by each of his 7 sisters. However, my father would probably dispute this and say that it was his real first test. Thankfully, he also had the support of 3 brothers. By his own admission, my father was never much of a farmer, as this picture of him making hay with his siblings can show. He left Ireland at the age of 18 to study accountancy in the UK, and then left the UK for the US to obtain his MBA at Wharton at the University of Pennsylvania, where he met my mother. He cut his teeth learning about different businesses at the global management consultancy firm McKinsey. After McKinsey, he and an ex-McKinsey colleague bought a small publicly listed company in Scotland, but after an illness he had to give that up. He went back to consulting, which included setting up the first remote printing of the Financial Times newspaper in Germany and the US. He then went into films and TV. He set up Film 4 as a division of Channel 4 in the UK. Channel 4 financed more than 120 feature films in whole or in part, like My Beautiful Laundrette, For Weddings and a Funeral, and more recently The Favourite and 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, both of which were nominated for Oscars. While this job appeared to be very exciting and took him to places like Hollywood, the Cannes and Venice Film Festival, it was not where he wanted to be. After Channel 4, he did 5 years' work for a house building company in the UK. My father came into the air cargo industry late in life, after the collapse of the Soviet Union and in the middle of the deep economic recession in Europe. He set up the company in a spare room of our house and put our family name in it as a kind of promise not to let it fail and to make it stand for quality. He could not have known at that time that one day Coyne Airways would grow to be in the top 100 cargo carriers, serving thousands of customers around the globe. Not bad for an airline which doesn't actually own any aircraft. It all started somewhat by chance. My father bumped into a young Russian guy who had access to lots of large military cargo aircraft that were discarded after the fall of the Soviet Union. These were Ilyushin 76 aircraft, some of which were set up to carry tanks and even had gun turrets at the rear to fend off the enemy. The Ilyushins had no business and were sitting idle, so my father set about trying to find cargo for them, and right away developed a rich seam of business into Central Asia and the Caucasus, primarily serving the oil and gas developments around the Caspian Sea. Coyne Airways pioneered these routes, and we still serve them today. The Ilyushin 76 really is a wonderful aircraft and a feat of engineering. It can land virtually anywhere. It has short takeoff and landing, it can land on paved or unpaved runways, and with its own ramp and internal crane, it is basically self-handling. These features make it ideal for transporting heavy cargo and machinery to remote locations and responding to emergencies where airport facilities may have been compromised. I would also mention that the pilots and crews of Ilyushin 76s are some of the bravest people you could ever be lucky enough to meet. In 2004, we became involved in the reconstruction efforts in Iraq. At that time, and still now unfortunately, there were ongoing security threats, and the airports would sometimes come under fire from rocket-propelled grenades. The Aleutian 76 crews used to spiral or corkscrew landings in order to stay out of the line of fire, thus keeping the aircraft, its cargo, and crew safe. We continue to use the Aleutian 76 aircraft today, especially for oversized cargo and also for a lot of humanitarian relief work, and sometimes because that's the only cargo available. We still like to make it difficult for the ground handlers, as you can see. Here are some heavy pipes, and then also some bulk-loaded PPE equipment from China, which was recent during this COVID outbreak. We do, however, try to use more fuel-efficient Western aircraft, such as the Boeing 747, 777, Airbus 300 and 330, where we can, just because those aircraft are better able to cope with higher fuel prices and also with volume. I do think that we'll always have a special place in our hearts for the Aleutian 76. My father claims that by not owning aircraft, we can gain access to the most efficient aircraft available. It also means that we're less metal dependent. So instead of fitting a client's cargo to our aircraft, we can fit an aircraft to the client's cargo. That means that we can use whichever aircraft best suits. And that can be from anything, from a 747, 777, 737, or AN-12 or AN-124. Apart from running his own business, my father found time to be involved in TIACA and became chairman in 2001. During his time, 9/11 happened. Security became the #1 concern, and that is why he concentrated on figuring out ways the restrictive regulations could be structured to be effective without damaging the air cargo industry. He opened dialogues with ICAO, WCO, and the OECD because he felt that restrictive rules were inhibiting the growth of cargo without advancing the efficacy of security. The challenge of finding an appropriate balance between effective security measures and economic growth has been taken up by subsequent TIACA chairmen, but was really driven by my father's friend and mentor, the late John Raven, who actually lived at WCO in Brussels and who successfully negotiated the exemption of paper from customs rules that gave rise to the express industry. I credit my father's achievements with a lifelong love of learning, an outstanding analytical capability, and an incredible work ethic. When out on the tennis court, he is happiest when he is solving problems. The more challenging, the better. Maybe that is why he's not backed away from exploring markets where others face tread. However, I know and he knows that he wouldn't have managed to be where he is without the support of colleagues, friends, families, and partner airlines and operators and customers. So we thank you all. This is not only his achievement, but yours. Thank you again. I leave you now with a few words from his friends.
Congratulations for your induction into the TIACA Hall of Fame, Larry. It is indeed a great honor to have you, especially a genius, a mastermind who created such a wonderful virtual airlines, which is now quite global and quite successful. Apart from that, all your contribution to the industry has also been a great achievement. It's an honor for me to welcome you to the Hall of Fame. Congratulations again, Larry.